The General and the Gentle Hearts. The sun was casting long, golden shadows over the military base as Sergeant Carter walked with a brisk, disciplined pace toward the office of the colonel. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with a sense of formal anticipation. When the sergeant entered, he found the colonel looking rather pleased. Standing beside him was a man whose presence seemed to fill the room with an air of international mystery and flamboyant energy. It was General Cortez, a man whose medals shone as brightly as his smile. The colonel informed Sergeant Carter that the general was on his way to Washington and had made a special stop just to visit them. Although a formal reception had been offered, the general had expressed a heartfelt desire to spend his limited time among the men he considered his true friends. Sergeant Carter felt a wave of pride wash over him as the colonel placed the responsibility for the general's comfort and entertainment squarely in his hands. The general, with a warm and booming voice, expressed that he had never forgotten the kindness shown to him by the sergeant. He proposed a celebration in town that very night, a night filled with the finest dancing, the most exquisite dining, and the best wine available. When the sergeant suggested the Club Chi-Chi, the general's eyes lit up with excitement. It was settled. As they stepped outside, they encountered a young man whose innocence and genuine spirit were well known to everyone on the base. Gomer Pyle stood there, his face lighting up the moment he saw the visitor. The general greeted him as his #1 friend, embracing him with the warmth of a long-lost brother. Gomer, always humble, tried to maintain military decorum, but the general insisted that they were friends above all else. He insisted that Gomer join them for the evening festivities, asserting that a reunion would not be complete without him. Gomer, though worried about being in the way, eventually accepted the invitation with his characteristic enthusiasm. However, a small complication arose in the heart of Sergeant Carter. He had a girlfriend named Bunny, and he had been forced to cancel their date because of his official duties. He tried to explain this to the general, suggesting that perhaps they should talk about business and foreign relations instead of social dancing. But the general, being a man of great passion and romance, was horrified at the thought of the sergeant canceling a date with a lady on his account. He insisted that Miss Bunny join them, proclaiming that the more people there were, the merrier the evening would be. Gomer, ever the optimist, agreed wholeheartedly, even using that very phrase, which the general found remarkably clever. When the evening arrived, the group met outside the barracks. The general appeared in a magnificent naval uniform, which confused Gomer. Gomer remembered a map of the general's country and recalled that it was landlocked, with no water in sight. With a hearty laugh, the general explained that while they did not have a navy yet, he was the first admiral and wanted to be ready for the day they finally acquired one. This sense of hopeful preparation and grand ambition was typical of the general's vibrant personality. At the Club Chi-Chi, the atmosphere was electric. The general was a whirlwind of energy. He greeted Bunny with the grace of a true cavalier, calling her beautiful and insisting that everyone call him Manuel. He ordered the finest wine and demanded that the band play without ceasing. He wanted music that matched the loveliness of the lady present. The band played rumbas, sambas, and tangos, and the general even introduced them to a dance from his homeland called the San Miguel Boogaloo. Bunny, initially surprised by his intensity, found him quite charming and cute, much to the quiet frustration of Sergeant Carter. Throughout the night, the general was the life of the party. He toasted to Bunny's beauty, specifically mentioning the rosy lobe of her left ear, and then insisting on a second toast for the right one to ensure equality. However, when the bill arrived, a humorous misunderstanding occurred. The general, in a grand gesture of generosity, offered a payment of 100,000 pesos. The waiter, however, informed the group that they did not accept foreign currency. When the exchange rate was calculated, it turned out that the vast sum of pesos was only worth $7 while the bill was over $56. Sergeant Carter was left to cover the difference, a small price to pay for such a memorable evening. The next day, the general sought out Gomer to share a secret of the heart. He confessed that he had fallen deeply in love with Bunny. Gomer, ever the loyal friend, felt a sense of conflict. He had to inform the general that Bunny was already the girlfriend of Sergeant Carter. The general was momentarily crestfallen, feeling ashamed for his perceived selfishness. But when Gomer admitted that the two were not yet officially engaged, a spark of hope returned to the general's eyes. He decided to stay an extra day to woo her fairly, declaring that the battle of love was on and may the best man win. Gomer, worried about the potential friction between his two superiors, visited Bunny to warn her. He told her that the general was officially courting her and was as unstoppable as a snowball rolling downhill. Bunny, ever the clever woman, saw an opportunity. She decided to let the general's courtship continue, hoping it might finally motivate Sergeant Carter to stop taking her for granted and show more commitment. The general then asked Gomer to serve as a chaperone, or a duenna, for their afternoon outing. He claimed that as a man of hot blood, he needed Gomer there to maintain propriety. The afternoon was filled with song and laughter, with the general serenading Bunny and praising her smile as being warmer than the sun. By the end of the day, the general had made a monumental decision. He planned to ask for Bunny's hand in marriage that very night. At the club once more, the general prepared a grand proposal. He spoke of a life of luxury, where Bunny would have maids, a chef, and a limousine. He envisioned a honeymoon on a glorious mountaintop. However, Bunny, wanting to discourage him without being unkind, began to list all the things she loved that would not fit into his world. She spoke of her love for the seashore, which the general hated because of the sand. She spoke of her love for cooking simple meals like wieners and sauerkraut, which horrified his refined palate. She mentioned her habit of wearing her hair in curlers and watching television all night. Realizing that their lifestyles were fundamentally incompatible, the general gracefully withdrew his proposal. Ong claimed that his country was expecting a revolution and he had to return to his regiment immediately. He called Bunny a woman of great will and warned that she would be trouble, though he said it with a wink and a sense of dramatic flair. In the end, the general prepared to leave for Washington. He shared a final moment with Gomer, expressing that while the balloon of love had burst this time, one could always blow up another. He left the base as he had arrived, with a flourish of energy and a heart full of hope. The friendship between the men remained intact, strengthened by the shared laughter and the gentle lessons of the heart. As the general's car drove away, Gomer and the sergeant stood together, watching him go, knowing that life on the base would be a little less colorful without their old amigo, Manuel.